And welcome to Shamanic Sundays. Hi, Dad.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are always grateful to be here together and to be here together with you. So Thanks for showing up. In the spirit of sacred reciprocity, Dad, would you start us off with a prayer?
Yes.
Of gratitude.
Con mucho gusto, with much pleasure. Gratitude for this life, that you give us great mystery, great sacred wisdom, creative power of the universe who breathes this life into us. Thank you for it. Thank you for the beautiful gifts of creation and Mother Earth and Mother Ocean, and all the manifestations of beauty and diversity that great-grandmother growth you grow and manifest. Thank you for our ancestors. We remember you're here, and gratitude for the ancestor spirits of the land we live. Good blessings to you. Thank you for our families and our communities, and thank you for the gifts of medicine that you give each and every one of us as a sacred being here with purpose to learn about, to grow and develop to fullest blossoming, greatest good, so we can show up and do our part to help heal the sacred hoop. And on this day that we're given, joining today, bringing our hearts, minds, and spirits together to open the Nayarika, the doorway to bring through more healing light and love and strength and courage and beauty and creativity, generosity, polishing up our stardust to wake up, wise up, and live love now. Oh,
thank you. Thank you. So I want to remind folks that you can always send questions ahead of time to tompinkson@gmail.com and put in the subject line Shamanic Sundays. And we will do our best to answer questions from you. The gift of doing these each week is really trying to open up when we don't get questions from you to, what am I feeling? What am I seeing happening in the world? What are things that other people come to me, not necessarily emailing you, but questions that they bring to me in my life and my work. And this morning, the theme of the day came to me courtesy of the cutest little pit bull baby. As I was walking this morning, there was this little baby pit bull. The human mom had the puppy on a leash, and she was trying to get him to walk uphill. And he was just sitting there staring up the hill like, nope, not going to do it. Can't do it. Way too big. And it made me think how often we wake up feeling like the hill above us is way too steep, way too big, way too hard, way too long, way too rough. Or, maybe it pops up in the middle of the day, some hill that all of a sudden feels insurmountable. And so the question I wanted to put out to you, Dad, is what are some shamanic principles and practices that we could implement when we feel like the hill is way too big ahead of us? And certainly that is relevant, I think, with the politics of the day and the many challenges that we are facing and aware of. There's always been challenges in the world. And in fact, there's some, people that would say we've got things a lot better than we used to. But there's a lot of evidence with the scientific awareness that we have and the different media outlets that we have available to us to be aware of way more that is going on in the world. And there's a lot of concerning, challenging news. So
no lack of challenges, that's for sure. But then those challenges are the vehicles of opportunity to help us wake up. And and remember, when we look at those literal mountains, and I've spent a lot of time in my youth climbing big mountains, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. The metaphorical challenges, the literal, emotional, spiritual, environmental challenges, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the immensity of them. So a good shamanic practice, good practice period, is to use them to wake up and remember, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in trying to climb that mountain just on my physical strength, just on my resources. I have access to the infinite creative wisdom power of the universe. I have access, we all have access to a power that's bigger than ourselves, no matter how strong or well-conditioned our physical bodies are, to be able to climb that mountain. Just like with rock climbing, you don't climb with your upper body, you basically climb with your legs, the strength of your hips and your legs, and you look for handholds to hold on to that you can then walk a ladder up through the cracks and footholds up the mountain. But no matter how strong you are, you're not going to be able to pull yourself up for 15 hours climbing up a 1,000-foot mountain. You have to do it with a deeper part of your body. And so going deeper is remembering we do have that access to an infinite power. So different techniques about how to access that power is to remember, wait a minute, I'm not alone. I don't have to meet this challenge just on my own energy. I can open up to, I can attune to, I can consciously connect, and I can commune, open myself to that power that creates the universe, that can help me face and work this challenge. When I would climb up 12 years of pilgrimage up Mount Shasta, a 14,000-foot mountain, beautiful mountain, gorgeous mountain, so full of power. And by the way, if you go there, and do try to climb it, do so with respect, and don't go to the very summit. The native people say it's disrespectful to go to the very summit. Of course, our egos want to go to the summit. I conquer the mountain. Look at me, aren't I great? But remembering that people of wisdom will pay attention to right relationship for tens of thousands of years to this big place of power. Say it's not respectful to go to the very top of the mountain. So in any case, when I was climbing that mountain, and I would get exhausted and tired and physically hurting, and each breath up is harder to take. There's less oxygen and there's more strain, and body's screaming out, "Why are you doing this? Nobody's forcing you to do this. This is miserable. You're suffering." But something was driving me on. Was okay. I'm choosing to do this. So how can I access a power that's greater than mine? Number one, I can access the power of the mountain. The fact that the mountain is rising 14,000 feet up above sea level means it took a huge amount of power, volcanic power, to bring that up from the surface of the earth so high into the heavens. So there's a huge amount of power I'm walking on. Open up to the power that's beneath me and just draw it up. Just start drawing it up. Go slow enough with each step. Of course, that's not a problem going up 14,000-foot mountain. That go slow enough and conscious enough so that each time I put my foot down on Mother Earth, I open the bottom of my soul to bring up that healing energy, that empowerment, strength energy into my body. So then as I lift that foot up to take the next step, I'm doing so with that greater power of the mountain. And then also I call in my power animal, the deer spirit, Kayumari, and give thanks to Kayumari. Thank you for you. Thank you for all that you do to help me on my path. And I ask you to come up here now onto this mountain and let me climb onto your back. And you help carry me up this mountain. And so I do my prayers to connect with Kayumari and my experiences that it comes to me. Kayumari comes to me and I get up on its back and it helps me up the mountain. Now you could argue that's all in my mind and I'm making it up. But the very fact that it's in my mind has given me help, even if you don't believe in the shamanic connection with power animals and their ability to help. The fact that I'm putting my mind's attention into something that's helping me instead of feeling miserable and complaining and suffering, the fact that I'm putting my mind's attention into that force coming to help me is changing my mind, which is changing my energy state, which is helping me get up the mountain with opening myself to experience of enjoying being able to climb up and see the beauty that I can see more and more of over the horizon, the higher I get. So I just share that with you as an example of shamanic techniques to be able to access that bigger power, remembering you don't have to do it all on your own. And the very fact of thinking you have to climb that mountain all on your own is indicative of how you've fallen asleep into the constriction of thinking the fullness of you is your ego and your intellectual mind and your physical body. And there's way, way, way much more that we always have access to when we face those mountains and those challenges, whatever they may be. All right.
So remembering we don't have to do it alone. We don't have to climb the mountain alone. And remembering that the infinite, the access we all have to the infinite creative power of the universe. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you think of, I feel like you're good at pulling out like the latest research on quantum physics and how we are all related to one another, and how like science is now proving what nature and indigenous wisdom has known for a long time. Have you read any recent research on that?
Well, I'm reading it all the time, and it all says the same thing. The Newtonian mechanical framework paradigm of how the universe works as separate objects in a machine is known to be a falsehood by the indigenous people who pay attention to how the universe works, that everything's all connected, and particle physicists who endeavor to find the smallest building blocks of matter, of what we're made of, and they go deeper and deeper, and it's like removing one curtain after another, and there's nothing there. Wait a minute, there's no thing here. There's absolutely no thing here. There's just simply the manifestation of physical plane from the quantum vacuum, in which there is no thing. Particles and antiparticles appear and cancel themselves out, and somehow out of that dance comes physical manifestation that we see through our physical eyes, and our culture teaches us is we're seeing separate things. But particle physicists tell us that no, there's no such thing there. There's no such thing as a solid thing separate from other solid things. It's all patterns of energy in a particular dance, in a particular formula, might say, for a particular time, vibrating in a particular way, does its dance until it's finished, and it slowly releases and dissolves on every level of physical manifestation, or physical bodies, everything we see, mountains, oceans, everything we see. And in fact, what's the true understanding of deeper reality is we're all connected. There is no such thing as a separate thing. It's one unified, interwoven field of relationship. It's all about energy, current patterns in relationship to one another, embedded in an ocean, an infinite ocean of invisible energy, invisible to the normal eye of consciousness, which is constricted to the ego identity and perception. But underlying all that we see is the invisible, infinite energy field of the quantum foam, or whatever you want to call it, God, the spirit, the Tao, the mystery, in which we're all related. Because there's no such thing as a separate thing. We're all related to each other, and it's all about relationship. Our experience in the moment of being alive right now. What kind of relationship am I having my body to my mind, my thoughts, my feelings, the environment around me, the people I'm with on the physical plane, the people I'm with in my mind and spirit. It's all about relationship. There's nothing that's not about relationship. So the only issue is really, what kind of relationship am I having with this breath that comes into me, that spirit gives me the opportunity to co-create my experience with? What kind of relationship am I having with my mind, with my consciousness, with greater consciousness, in which we're all interconnected in a blissful field of infinite unconditional light and love? You think about the spectrum of light that we see, photons that come from the sun that bounce off of whatever. We see each other right now, the light coming in some way from the bulbs here in this room, which ultimately got its light energy from Father Sun and going all the way back to previous solar explosions. The light that we're able to see with these eyes is an infinitesimally small amount of the bandwidth of light that we don't see. huge, infinite, vibrating dancing. But we just see through these eyes and the cultural lenses by which we look through. And ours are ones that are tight as compared to the ones that are open with humility to recognizing the truth of our interconnectedness is an example of how there's so much more going on than we see with these eyes and with our ordinary consciousness in the mystery, in the sacred mystery that underlies all manifestation. What kind of relationship are we having with the sacred mystery in which we're all related? Everybody, everything, plant, fish, animal, wind, rain, cosmos, stars. We're all related. We're all related. And all my relations, we're all related. All right.
Thank you. One of our community members commented, so many learning from being on that mountain with you and community. And if my memory serves me correctly, that person was someone who did the Shasta group that you guys, the year-long Shasta group. But it's so metaphorical too, of that we're on this mountain literally and figuratively together. So thank you for that beautiful image and thinking of the many groups that I know that have done that quest with you.
Yeah, I just want to say gratitude to all the people that I was privileged to journey on that sacred, beautiful mountain with, and gratitude to what I call the angels of protection, the angels de protección, because usually every year, one or two people die on that mountain. And there were times when we had accidents on the mountain and near misses that people were saved by one miracle or another, that nobody really got hurt. So I'm just very, very grateful for the angels of protection and all those adventures, for the angels of protection in our lives right now, here today. And may they grow stronger for all of us and in the world, protection for life through not just our listening here, but joining our hearts, minds, and spirits to polish our stardust so we can show up to address the challenges of climate change and social, economic injustice and prejudice and racism and sexism. And all of it comes from fear. I had a dream last night that helped me explore anger more. And in the dream, I was really seeing once again that anger comes from fear, which comes from being hurt. And the biggest hurt is the false perception that we're separate from each other. So I can hurt someone else, or I can hurt the earth or the ocean or plants without any consideration of their feelings or any respect for their being, and that they have equal right in being alive as I do. As long as I believe in that perception of separation and what our culture teaches us about the aggrandizement of the individual, and it's all about individual fulfillment and achievement and acquisition and status and power. And actually, I was just reading some research yesterday that was speaking to the pursuit of happiness in terms of your own accomplishments is not going to ring the bell. It's not going to ring the bell. What rings the bell is, and check it out in your own experience, is when you're connected in a meaningful way with other people, social relationships, other beings, and you're giving of yourself, of your own heart and spirit to help others. That's what brings happiness. That's what brings a sense of feeling good about yourself, not just from getting. It's from the giving from our hearts, not out of guilt or pressure or anything like that, but for the joy of giving freely from our hearts to others, to help others with caring and kindness and support and gratitude for when all the people have given that to us and in the future will. But the opportunity for us to be able to do that on this day that we're alive here now. All right.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of years ago, I think about 2 years ago, there was a Harvard study that came out talking about purpose. And that was really the gist of it, was that when you're seeking happiness, the things that we in our current society generally define as happiness, that actually leads to there's a direct correlation with depression and anxiety. But when you're feeling purposeful and you're living, the phrase of a purposeful life, when you're operating from a sense of purpose, your sense of joy and all the sort of positive attributes of physical experience go up. So
I would just comment on, build on what you just said, that purpose greater than feeding
yourself.
my ego.
Yeah.
Aren't I great? Aren't I far out? Aren't I, the best thing since sliced bread, and putting all our efforts, the purpose of building myself up more. That's not going to lead to happiness, and it will lead to depression ultimately, because it's not feeding the soul. So no matter how much you get of stuff, of power, status, material acquisition, all the shiny jewels, because it doesn't feed your soul, you're still going to be hungry. And what are you hungry for? You're hungry for the purpose that comes from understanding that we're not in this life by accident, that we all have gifts from spirit. Every single one of us has gifts, whether we believe it or not, whether we're in touch with it or not. Every one of us has gifts, medicine gifts that were given to us in this life to discover and find the ways to nurture those gifts that we have, polish them up and feed them so they can achieve fullest blossoming, and we can share them with our people. That's the gifts are given to share with our people. And what people aren't our people. All people are our people, because we're all related. And that's what's going to give us a sense of fulfillment and meaning in our lives, when we recognize we're here to serve, not our egos, but higher will and humanity and creation and nature. And that's what brings us on a hard path to completion, true happiness.
Yes. So thank you. Going back to the question of the day, when we're facing an uphill that feels daunting, can you take us through a visualization, thinking of the coming week or today, something that you are already feeling or that may come upon your path in the coming week that feels challenging, and you're looking up that hill and it feels big? Will you lead us on a visualization, bringing some shamanic principles into that moment so we can strengthen that muscle?
All right, let's give it a good shot.
Okay, thank you.
Well, visualization. So there's vision with our eyes open, wonderful things we can see. And then there's insight vision, letting our eyelids close and bringing our awareness inside. And one of the billions of things that's wondrous about these physical bodies that our spirits are living in, and the billions of years of evolutionary wisdom built into them, is it gives us the feeling of sensations, the opportunity to have sensations, and the opportunity to experience feelings. So when we're faced with a challenge, an inner challenge, a mental or emotional or spiritual or illness challenge, when we're faced with challenges and interactions with others, when we're faced with challenges of what's happening in the world.
Or with one's body. Someone commented about facing an illness.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay,
I
sorry.
said illness. Girl, you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Got to appreciate her. So when we're facing challenge, from inner or outer challenge, it's going to trigger feelings. And so first step is to don't resist the feelings. Open to the feelings. Give yourself permission to feel the feelings. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling anxiety. I'm feeling constriction. I'm feeling whatever it is you're feeling, sadness, panic, overwhelm, whatever it is, you just, now I'm experiencing, my awareness is experiencing, and then whatever you're feeling. So differentiating your awareness from the contents of awareness. Yes, I'm experiencing whatever the truth is, what I'm experiencing. It's not who I am. It's not what I am, but it's what my awareness is experiencing in this human body right now of being alive. And so what are those, if I don't resist the feelings, what are they trying to help me become aware of? What are the feelings trying to help me become aware of? And one of the things that can help us become aware of is what kind of relationship am I creating to those feelings, which is energy, communicating, getting my attention. What kind of, am I shutting it down? Am I resisting it? Am I judging it? Am I making it bad? Am I repressing it? Am I projecting it onto others? There's information in the feelings. So opening to the feelings, opening. Gratitude to be able to feel. Gratitude to the sensitivity and consciousness in our bodies that experience feelings, to bring our attention to what we need to pay attention into, like what kind of relationship am I creating to these feelings? And what kind of a story am I telling myself about these feelings? And just as a reminder, in terms of judgment, because many times we can get triggered into judgment, which our culture teaches us to be masters at, finding fault with ourselves and with others, blaming others, attack. Recent experience, actually yesterday morning, about speaks to the ability to be able to laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself so seriously. So I'm lying in bed early in the morning, doing my meditation prayers, which I always do before I get out of bed, enjoying the silence. We live in a quiet neighborhood. Very grateful for that. And all of a sudden, from far away, I hear a car alarm going off. And it sounds like it's about a block over and further up the block. And this is early in the morning. So it's quote disturbing my peace, my meditation. So I can feel myself getting irritated. I can feel myself getting angered, and then my mind goes into judgment. What kind of an idiot just doesn't go out there and turn off their car alarm? It's going on and on and on. It's waking everybody up in the neighborhood. Come on, get it together. And then it keeps honking on. So well, it's happening. So I just have to make the blend from the Aikido expression, connect with that energy. It's not going away. I just have to let go of responding to it with irritation and just drop down deeper underneath it back into my meditation. So I'm working on that. Meanwhile, and then I hear the front door ring, and Andrea's in the living room, so she goes over to get it, and I hear her talking to somebody, and then I hear her go outside, and then the car alarm stops, and she comes back in and says, "Hey, your car alarm was going off." So right, exactly. Oops, it's like totally busted. To be able to laugh at yourself. Don't throw bricks when you live in a glass house. And so being with the feelings of triggered when you're facing that mountain, remember, you're not your ego reactivity. You're not the feelings. You're way more than that. And as we talked about earlier, climbing the mountain, remember, you're not alone. You have access to the infinite, divine, creating, activating wisdom power of the universe. So pick up your practices, and a good way to start the day of the practice is lighting a candle first thing in the morning and thinking about, reflecting on what you're grateful for, giving thanks back to that light and taking it in, polishing up your stardust, remembering where it comes from with gratitude, and sending thankfulness back to the source of where that light's coming from. Fill yourself up with it and start sending it out to your mind, your body, your feelings, your sensations, letting go, releasing, opening to the flow of love pouring in with each new breath, and being a channel, sending it out into the world. And the opportunity, when the challenge comes, that mountain comes, it is an opportunity to wake up from the constriction of who you thought you were, your reactive self, ego-identified stories. I'm way more than that. I can open myself to any time I want because Spirit's always present. Spirit, the Tao, the infinite, the divine creating wisdom energy of the universe. It's always present. It's never not present. It's just a matter of am I open to it, connected to it, or not, through humility, through gratitude. So as you go forward into your life, and however Coyote might ring your car alarm metaphorically, and you think it's someone else, don't take yourself so seriously. Don't throw those bricks of judgment at yourself or anyone else, and open up to the glory of being alive in the moment and being able to co-create a different kind of experience than one that leads to suffering, but opens your heart and your consciousness and your mind to the truth of who and what you are, one and parcel and unified with the infinite flow of that beautiful healing light and love. That's the essence of our being, and letting it flow through you and to whom and where it needs to go for healing of the sacred hoop. And thank you for showing up with your life and doing the work you do to polish up your stardust and share your gifts with us all, because what you got, we need. Oh,
thank you. What you got, we need. That's true. I also want to just bring a little bit of attention to the concept of purpose around being versus doing, because we live in a society that is so do, and so do. Yeah. When you sometimes when you're dealing with physical challenges, as one of our community relatives here was talking about, purpose doesn't mean that you're going to get up and physically necessarily have some, you're not going to carry the boulder up the mountain, or you're not going to build a house that day. Some days, literally, the most you can do is to, wake up and maybe get a little bit of food, water, go to the bathroom, and that's about it. But I think you always have the capacity, well, not always, as long as our minds are still working to some extent, we have the ability to pray. And there's so much evidence of prayer, those ripples going out into the world. And even if you don't believe the evidence for that, then, as you were talking about earlier, can change your own mindset, that you're not just lying there feeling your own pain and grief and sadness, but you are doing something, that there's so many different layers of doing that can be really more just about being and how you show up. So
reminds me of how when I first got involved over half a century ago with indigenous wisdom ways and indigenous science knowledge, was well, it just totally went away. The wave just totally
that's okay.
Went out. So that's a good reminder for when that happens to you. Don't panic. Don't freeze up. Just trust the process. It just needed to go. And if it's important, it'll come back to you again, and enjoy being alive in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, this conversation reminds me of one of my favorite stories that you told Nicole and I when we were kids, about a guy who crashed his plane in Alaska. Oh, yeah. And everybody assumed that he had died. And he showed up months later in some town, a couple thousand miles, or forgive me if I get the numbers wrong, but the point of the story remains, showed up on, the outskirts of some town. And everybody was like, how did you do this? Like, how did you walk? And I need to look up what the actual mileage was on this story, but how did you walk, 1,000 miles? And he said, I didn't walk 1,000 miles. And they say, yeah, you did. Here's where your plane crashed. And here's where you showed up today. You walked 1,000 miles. And he was like, nope, I did not walk 1,000 miles. And they thought, okay, he made it, but he's a little crazy. And he said, nope, I did not walk 1,000 miles. I walked 1 mile 1,000 times.
And one step.
One step
at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time. Yeah. So whatever hill you are facing today or in the week ahead, may you remember these teachings this morning, principles that you shared and that we shared. And thank you for the sharing together as another friend. We are doing this together. Yes. I
remembered. The wave just came back.
Oh, good.
Which is about rest, what you were talking about, rest. Mm-hmm. And when I first became involved with indigenous wisdom ways, the goal was to walk in balance, in harmony and balance with all of your relationships. And for us to have balance in our lives in a culture that so emphasizes the doing. And if you're not doing, you're wasting your time and falling behind, and you better get off your butt and start doing more. You're not doing enough. Shame on you. Protestant work ethic. That we need to balance our doing with what you just said, our being. Beingness. And that means resting. For all the activity, there needs to be a balanced time of resting, of nourishment, of slowing down, taking it easy, and sometimes just lying in bed a little bit later, taking good care of yourself. That's what I remember.
So thank you. Right. Thank you for all of us working together to take better care of ourselves and each other and this planet and all the beings that we share it with. So have a great week, and we will see you next Sunday.
Vaya
for
con
Shamanic
Dios.
Sundays.
Oh.
All right. Take